Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's program, I'm going to be breaking down the latest Texans storylines that I've seen across the interweb, seen across multiple different sites, and I just want to break down all these stories on today's show. Was it a mistake signing Laken Tomlinson, or could he be the savior at left guard? Also, Tank Dell. Interesting video that I'm going to show you. Got some permission from his trainer to show it on today's show. Is he on track to play in 2025? And then also, were multiple teams interested in Damon Arnette, and could he possibly make the 53-man roster? I'll break all this down on today's program, but I just got back to the Chat Sports Studios. I spent this past weekend with all my family in Houston, took my wife down. Thank you for all the great food, Rex. Tried Donna Letty's. Pretty good, not going to lie. It's not my favorite. I'm an original Ninfa's guy, but it wasn't bad. I thought it was pretty good. Had a couple other spots that were delicious down in H-Town. Definitely going back maybe during training camp at least one more time this summer. But I got to know, because my wife was in my ear, even though I was doing all the driving, Cullen. My wife was in my ear saying, Houston has the worst traffic. Houston's traffic is the worst. So, from everybody there in Houston, if you're in H-Town, let me know. Does Houston have the worst traffic? I'm not gonna lie. Had a couple points where we were in some stop and go. I didn't think it was as bad as she did, but obviously, Passenger Princess, was not happy with the amount of traffic that we hit in Houston. But let me know down in the comments. Does Houston have the worst traffic? And if you are brand new to the program and you're like, what are these Toro heads that Jeremy's talking about? This is kind of how I break down different stories, different rumors on this program. If I give something 0 heads or fake news, that's just total baloney. If I give something 1 Toro head, a small shred of truth, 2 Toro heads, people are talking. 3 Toro heads, pretty likely. And if I give something 4 Toro heads, H-Town, hold it down. It happened. So here we go with our first story. Was it a mistake? Signing Laken Tomlinson? Fake news. 0 Toro heads. I saw this story from the Toro Times, and I'm not ripping them because they did kind of preface the story with, was it a mistake signing Laken Tomlinson and giving the reasons why it was and why it wouldn't be. And you know what? I'm not going to ramble on. Let me just tell you what they had to say in the article. Despite Tomlinson's experience, he has started every game in each of the last 3 seasons and earned a Pro Bowl nod earlier in his career. Recent performance metrics raise concerns. According to Pro Football Focus, Tomlinson ranked among the bottom 5 in guards and pressure rates last season, just 3 spots ahead of Shaq Mason, who was also let go this offseason by the Texans. The Texans' aggressive approach to rebuilding the offensive line was expected to yield a more significant upgrade at guard. Instead, Tomlinson is seen by some as a temporary solution rather than a long-term fix, with the team likely to seek additional help in the upcoming draft. Talking about, the Texans, was it a mistake to sign Laken Tomlinson? I don't think it was, because yes, you are kind of putting a Band-Aid on an issue, and sure, would I have loved the Texans to double dip at offensive line and get some premier blue chip talent in this draft? Sure. I think almost every Texans fan would agree. But in the same instance, if Laken Tomlinson doesn't work out, he's trying to do a cheap deal. It was like, $5 million for this season? It's not a lot in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about starting offensive linemen. And I have 2 reasons why I also don't think it's a mistake, along with the price point that we got him at. One, his best 2 seasons in the NFL, which the Toro Times article did allude to, were with the 49ers when DeMeco Ryans was the coach there. In 2020, 2021 were his 2 best statistical seasons. And I know DeMeco Ryans is a defensive coach, but still, he's hand-in-hand talking to the offensive guys, talking to the rest of the guys in the coaching staff, and he must have liked something that he saw or, had the privilege of coaching in Laken Tomlinson to say, hey, we have a major need at left guard. Let's go ahead and bring him in to fill that in. Number 2, I really do think Laken Tomlinson will be good for this Texans team at that left guard spot because, he is somebody who DeMeco Ryans likes as a leader, right? And the last couple seasons for Laken Tomlinson, he's been a part of bad offensive lines altogether, the Jets and the Seahawks. And I think that's what DeMeco Ryans and this coaching staff wanted to get across is it wasn't one guy last year. It was an entire unit. So kind of scrapping everybody. We all already have seen 3 starters from last year off the team. Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, and Shaq Mason. 3 guys who started in week 1 for you last year are no longer on this team. So it is a complete retool, complete reset of this offensive line unit. And I think that starts with bringing in guys. Yes, you're not going to be able to get blue chip talent all over the board, but you have 2 tackles who are second-round picks in Ariante Ursary, Blake Fisher, Titus Howard still on the team. A lot of people regarded him as one of the better offensive linemen last year for the Texans. I have him slotted in at right guard. Jake Andrews, a young guy who's worked with Cole Popovich before, maybe getting the starting center reps for this Texans team, and then you go out and sign Cam Robinson. So even though the unit doesn't have a star player, I weirdly have more confidence in this starting 5 than I did in last year's starting 5. And I know that's easy for me to say now because the offensive line last year stunk, but it has to be better, right? Right, Cullen? It has to be a little bit better. So let me know down in the comment section, confidence level in the O-line going into this season. Scale it 1 to 10. 1, no confidence at all. You think we're going to be even worse than last year. 10, we might have the best offensive line in the entire National Football League. I'm not there yet. I'm not at a 10, but I'm at a 6. I'm at a solid 6. I think along with the offensive coordinator change, some other, changes throughout this franchise, I think this offensive line will be better. Marginally better. I don't think it's going to be a top 10 unit, but I think as we get into this season, then obviously next year, adding more pieces, adding more blue chip talent through the draft, I think this offensive line can build on something, and it starts with laying down the foundation, especially with guys, with leaders like Laken Tomlinson. Next up on today's show, Tank Dell. Is he on track to play in 2025? Not fake news. I'm only going to give it 1 Toro head, though. Only 1 Toro head. Shout out to Tank Dell, and shout out to his trainer, Justin Allen, who posted this video of him on X. He is back in the lab, back working out, and, shout out to Tank Dell, and I know what you're going to say. This is just his upper arms. This is just him working out, up here. Nothing to do with his knee, but in the same instance, I think this is a great sign because you have to think, there's still some danger of him falling with doing these pull-ups, and you have to feel somewhat good in your knee and your legs if you're doing this, if there's a chance that you're going to fall, right? So even with him just working out up here, it's also working out his core as well. This is a great sign for Tank Dell. This is a really good sign for Tank Dell. This is very promising, and it's nice to see him getting back out there, getting back in the gym, being out around the town, going to, whenever the Rockets were playing Rockets games, Astros games, U of H basketball games, among other games that he's been to. I'm really pumped for Tank Dell. But in the same breath, we still need to temper our expectations because my worst fear with Tank Dell, because I think he is immensely talented, is that he rushes back too early and re-injures himself. We need to be patient. We need to be okay with Tank Dell not playing the majority of the season and maybe helping us out with a late season push, maybe helping us out as we get into the playoffs at the end of this season and have Tank Dell maybe ingratiate himself with this offense. As we look at the Texans wide receiver depth chart, the Texans made multiple moves to ensure that they would not have to worry about rushing Tank Dell back. And I think that was very smart. They double-dipped in the draft. They got Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, the teammates from Iowa State. They also traded for Christian Kirk. They signed Justin Watson, among others, Braxton Berrios as well. So I think the moves that they've done have showed you they're not expecting Tank Dell back this year, or at least anytime soon, which is okay. But it is still nice to see. It is really heartwarming to see a guy like Tank Dell, which is a fan favorite among most Texans fans, to be back in the gym, to be working out again. And I think just his energy around NRG, his energy around the team is infectious. You can see it when he's around CJ Stroud. Whenever he's in the huddle, Stroud carries himself with a little bit more swagger. This team has a little bit more juice when they have a guy like that because he's an emotional leader on this team. And speaking of that, I want to send it back to him because he's always sending the good vibes out. Tank Dell's always the guy who's hyping up his teammates on the sideline. So I want y'all to do that for Tank right now. Go down and like the video. Hit that thumbs up icon to wish Tank a speedy recovery. If he's watching this video, shout out to you. Shout out to your trainer, Justin Allen. Thanks for chopping it up with me earlier today. But like I said, he is just an all-around good guy. And I want to send him the good vibes back. I want to send him all those well wishes. So if you could go down and like the video, maybe spam some Tanks down in the comments section. before we get into our last story on today's show, clearance sale, baby. And you know I love myself a good deal. We got it with our friends over at Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/Texans sale. All the things you see right here are on sale now. Some of them, they might sell out by the time you see this video, by the time you go click on that link down in the comment section. So speed is imperative because all this stuff is on clearance, and whenever it's gone, it's gone. So go check out all the deals they have, even more than what I'm showing you right here. Tons of items on clearance right now. So go check it all out. Chatsports.com/Texans sale. That link will be in the comment section and description of today's video. Get while the getting's good, or you'll miss out on some crazy deals with our friends over at Fanatics. Last story on today's program. Were multiple teams interested in Damon Arnette? That's 4 Toro heads. H-Town, hold it down. And great reporting by my man Aaron Wilson. He actually talked with one of the UFL executives, Daryl Johnston. You remember him, the Moose, former fullback in the NFL. He works for the UFL, and he talked with Aaron Wilson about Damon Arnette and the teams that were interested in him. This is what he had to say. It was a couple of teams that were reaching out on him. He's got everything you want. He's got the length. He's a former first-round pick, so the talent is there. It's really the maturity. Has he learned from what has happened to him his first opportunity whenever he was in Vegas? So it was great to see the Houston Texans call DeMeco Ryans because John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers was another one that called about him. So you can see that he really fits that style of defense that DeMeco Ryans wants to install with the Texans coming from the San Francisco 49ers because those were probably the 2 busiest teams that were reaching out on Damon's behalf. And I don't think Daryl Johnston would just name drop John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers if he didn't think there was a legit interest in them signing Damon Arnette, which is pretty interesting because whenever that signing ended up happening, not a lot of noise, right? It was a lot of like, oh, who? Damon Arnette? It's a UFL guy. Who cares? Turns out a couple teams did. A couple teams were interested in Damon Arnette. He chose to stay in Houston where he plays UFL with the Houston Roughnecks. So maybe it was a win-win on his part. My last 53 man, I didn't have him making the roster, but maybe he does. Maybe he ends up being the last corner on this roster, on this 53 man, because obviously after the retirement of Ronald Darby, he's the only guy they signed. He's the only Ronald Darby replacement, air quotes, as I say, that the Texans went ahead and got. So I could definitely see Damon Arnette being a guy who sneaks his way onto the 53-man roster, especially if he's learned his lessons, he's matured, and he's ready to ball out and have that swarm mentality because DeMeco Ryans doesn't care if you were selected in the first round or the 7th round. He wants dogs out there, and if Damon Arnette can be a dog for this team, why not put him on the 53-man roster? And it is kind of encouraging to hear as Texans fans that other teams, especially the San Francisco 49ers, who their defense, obviously, that's where DeMeco was before he came over to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. Their defense is no joke. They have a new DC in Robert Saleh, who was the former Jets head coach. Hearing that they were reaching out as well gives me good confidence because though the 49ers, the Texans, they run similar schemes. So if that team is looking at him to fill a need, and the Texans ended up signing him, pretty good bargain if you ask me. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can do so at Jeremy Chugs. My DMs are always open. And as always, make sure to hit that subscribe button for the latest Texans news and rumors all year long.